It was a typical Friday evening and I was sitting on the couch scrolling through my phone when Laura walked in, her face a little pale. She had always been someone who wore her emotions on her sleeve. So when she seemed off, I knew something was wrong. She was my rock, my partner, and everything, and seeing her like this sent a chill down my spine. Before we dive in, please subscribe. It means the world to us and helps us bring you more amazing stories. At first, I thought it might be stress from work. She had been putting in long hours recently, juggling meetings, deadlines, and office politics. But when I looked up from my phone and saw her staring at the ground, her fingers nervously twisting the hem of her shirt, I knew it was something more. "Laura?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though inside I felt a wave of anxiety starting to build. "What's going on?" She hesitated, then slowly sat down beside me. Her eyes were bloodshot, like she hadn't been sleeping well, and her lips trembled as she opened her mouth to speak. "I need to tell you something," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "And I don't know how to say it, but you deserve to know the truth." My heart dropped, and I immediately braced myself. I couldn't help but wonder, was she leaving me? Was there something serious I didn't know about? "I've been unfaithful," she said, her words hanging in the air, heavy and sharp. I stared at her, unable to process what I was hearing. Unfaithful. It didn't make sense. She was the woman I trusted more than anyone. How could she say something like that? My mind raced through 100 questions, but none of them seemed to matter as much as the one that kept repeating in my head. Why, everyone cheats. And I got caught up in it, too. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Everyone cheats. It didn't make sense. I had always believed in our relationship, in our commitment to each other. She had always been so dedicated, so loyal. The thought that she wasn't the only one, that everyone at her office was doing the same thing, was something I couldn't wrap my head around. I didn't want to, but I didn't know how to stop. She continued, her voice cracking. It just happened. The flirting, the attention, the pressure. And before I knew it, I was in the middle of it. But it wasn't just about one person. It became this thing, an unspoken agreement at work. And I fell into it. I felt my chest tighten as the weight of her words sank in. She wasn't just admitting to a single mistake. She was confessing to a pattern of betrayal. And what hurt even more was the idea that this wasn't isolated to her. This was a culture, a way of life at her office. A place where cheating wasn't just accepted, it was almost expected. "What do you mean everyone cheats?" I asked, my voice barely audible as the reality of the situation began to sink in. "It's just how it is there," she explained, tears streaming down her face now. "It's not something anyone talks about openly, but it's like a silent agreement. People flirt, they have affairs, they cheat. It's all part of the environment. And I got sucked in. I didn't want to hurt you, but I did. I could feel the room closing in on me. I had always known that work relationships could be complicated. But this was different. This was more than just a workplace affair. This was a toxic, unhealthy culture that encouraged dishonesty and secrecy. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She shook her head, regret filling her eyes. "I didn't know how. I was ashamed. I was afraid you would hate me. But I can't keep living this lie. You deserve to know the truth." The silence in the room was deafening. My thoughts were swirling and I felt like I was suffocating. I had always trusted her, had believed in our life together, in the foundation we'd built. But now everything was in question. The trust, the love, the future, it all felt like it had been shattered in a single moment. I looked at her and for the first time I didn't know what to say. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have ever imagined. It wasn't just about the affair. It was about the lies, the deceit, the fact that our entire relationship had been built on something fragile. The woman I had shared everything with, the woman I thought I knew so well, had been living a double life, and everyone at her office was complicit in it. As I sat there processing the truth, the hurt in her eyes began to fade into something more. Guilt, self-loathing, a desperate need for redemption. I could see how torn she was, how much she regretted her actions. But at that moment, I couldn't see a way forward. I didn't know how to forgive this. For the next few days, Everything felt off. We tried to talk about it, but the more we spoke, the more the distance between us grew. The trust had been broken, and no amount of words could fix it. I had to make a choice. Could I forgive her? Could we rebuild from the wreckage? Or was it better to walk away and start over? Part wasn't even the affair. It was the realization that our entire marriage had been built on something fragile. And as much as I wanted to save our family, I didn't know if I could ever trust her again. Eventually, after a lot of sleepless nights and difficult conversations, I knew what I had to do. I couldn't continue living in the shadow of betrayal. For my own sake, and for the sake of our future, I had to walk away. I didn't want to make this decision. I didn't want to give up on the family we had built. But in the end, I knew that love and trust had to go hand in hand. And without that trust, there was nothing left. In the months that followed, Laura and I both took time to reflect on everything that had happened. We spent time apart reevaluating our lives. And though the pain of betrayal would never fully go away, I began to heal, learning that sometimes walking away is the only way to move forward. I wish things had turned out differently. I wish we could have fixed it, but in the end, I realized that you can't change what's been broken. You can only learn from it and find the strength to rebuild your own.